So today we are going to be drawing one-point perspectives on site. I think a really good way is to start with the floor line, because usually you can find that no matter where you're at. So when you're looking straight ahead, you're going to draw the floor that you see furthest in the distance. So there's the floor. If you're inside, you'll also have a parallel line. That's the ceiling, right? And draw that parallel line as the ceiling. If you're outside, you may not have this line, but you'll also have something forming vertical lines along this back wall, we're going to call it. So if you're inside, this will just be the walls itself. If you're outside, this could be just two buildings that's on either side of you that's forming this back edge. So you're always looking for simple shapes, right? So this is the back wall of either a room or of a courtyard. So once you have this drawn, you've got the floor line and you've got those two lines that you're working with. From here, you're going to set up your horizon line. Now I'm using a heavier line weight because it's easier to see here on the video, but you can use lighter line weights to set all of this up. I think that would be a great idea. So the horizon line, there's a couple ways that you can try to find it. If you're on site, there's an exercise where you can hold out your pencil or pen exactly horizontal like this. You hold it out in front of you with a very straight arm and close one eye and see what it's aligning with in the background. We can practice that together, but another way is to think about a few reference points. So say that we are out in a room, and say that there's a door on this back wall. So I'm going to draw in the door. And you're trying to get in reference, how far the door is compared to the actual height of the wall. So you want to make sure you draw this back wall accurately. That's very, very important to have an accurate sense of dimensioning and scale. So what that means is you can figure out where your eye level is. If you're standing just in front of this doorway, you know that you're not as tall as the door, right? So you can figure out in a typical doorway, if this is a typical doorway, that your eye level might be about right here, right? So you can use that as a reference to figure out where the horizon line is, because it's the same as your eye level line. So there's a horizon line that we're working with at your eye level. Now if you are 2 stories up looking down at this space, your reference point would be different. You would have to figure out where that is in reference to what you're looking at. But for standing on this floor in front of this door, we've got a nice horizon line. And then you decide, okay, where am I standing? Am I directly in front of the door? In that case, your point would be here. Or am I over in this corner of the room? In that case, the point would be here. For us, I'm just going to put it roughly in the center. And then from here, in the same way with our boxes, we drew from the corner to the vanishing point. So this is our vanishing point. We're going to actually draw out from the vanishing point through the corner. So I'm going to kind of lightly do that, and then I'm going to go through the corner and continue. So straight line, but that gives us the ceiling, or the line between the wall and the ceiling. And then along this, that gives me the floor line. So this wall is starting to be complete. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. And also over here. Okay, so now we're in a room. We're in a room. You can see the ceiling here, the 2 walls, and then the floor. And of course the door and the back. Now you could think about this differently. Maybe these are just two sets of buildings, in a courtyard too. And then maybe there's trees in the background. So it applies to both scenarios, but you're basically kind of giving a tunnel vision. You've got one point, and you're seeing the parallel lines converging to the one vanishing point. And by parallel, what I mean is if you drew this space in plan, maybe it looks like this. I don't know how long it is, but maybe it's something like this. The door is here, and you're standing roughly here, and you're looking at that back wall. And so these parallel lines are the floor lines, and that's what's converging to that point. Now, there's a few other principles other than the converging lines that you want to be aware of. You also have diminishing lines. And you can think about that if you think of columns or windows that might be along the side walls here. And again, you always want to use reference points. So if I'm looking at windows in relationship to the door, are they above the door? Are they maybe roughly here and here? And you can use that back wall as your measuring point. That's where everything starts for the 1-point perspective. Are they above? Are they below the door? Do they match up? Maybe the bottom matches up with the top of the door. So use whatever reference points you can find to start to dimension out and scale out all the elements within your perspective. So I'm going to go with this top tick mark and then the bottom one that I've made here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw. This is to get the top of my window and the bottom. Actually, I'm going to put the bottom here so we can stay with these converging lines. So this line is the top of my windows, this is the bottom, and there's going to be a series of windows here. And the one that's closest to me, similar with the boxes, you want to draw a parallel line to the back wall, a vertical line, and you use your eye to guess how wide it looks. So I'm going to say it's about that wide. But my next one, this is my second window, is going to be more narrow than this one. So I'm going to roughly kind of guess where that's going to be. And then you guessed it, the next one is going to be look even closer to this second one and be even more narrow. So see how each one is getting more and more narrow the closer it gets to the vanishing point. So this is the idea of diminishing objects along those side walls. That could be applied to columns, really any element that's repetitive. It's getting smaller and smaller in height and in width the further away it gets from your eye level. So these principles will help you construct your perspective view and really create something that looks accurate and is based on construction lines. So use those to your advantage. You can draw them in really lightly and then come back with your heavier line weight, but then also using reference objects throughout to construct a nice scene.